All right, guys, it's week 23 of the NHL Power Rankings, and I'm going to get us straight into the action with pick 32. We've got a new team at 32 this week. I have the San Jose Sharks.
Oh, okay, then my 31. Still 31.
Yeah, look, I teetered with another team at 32 as well. Unless you've kept yours the same, I think it might have been that same team. But yeah, look, the Sharks. Look, they've been ordinary for a while. 1-7-2, I think, in their last 10. Ordinary for a while. They've been ordinary all year. Um, they get a 3-2 loss against Philly, a 6-3 loss against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and a 4-2 loss against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they go winless in the week. There's not much more to say. They've been pretty much the worst team all
Yeah,
year, besides Chicago and maybe another. Um, yeah, it's just end it for them, end the season. They want to go to their golf trip.
alrighty. My 32, different one, Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, that's who I thought you may have done.
Yeah, so this team, they get 6-1 by the Islanders, 7-2 by Chicago, 0-2 by Minnesota Wild, and then they go and lose 6-0 to the Winnipeg Jets on a back-to-back. So no wins, no points, a lot of goals conceded. The only time they don't concede many goals, they don't even score a goal. I think they've been playing absolutely trash for a while, and they're a pretty solid 32 on ice performance. I know on the standings they're not there. They even have a better last 10 than San Jose, but I just think on ice performance, it has been atrocious for me. So I had to do it for my sake, for my
No,
sanity.
I agree with you, man. Honestly, and I was very close to making that same call. I think if San Jose probably had one more win in their last 10, that probably would have been enough for me to swap it. But yeah, if I tell you right now, if the Ducks keep playing the way they are, they'll be my 32 next week as well. Um, All right, 30 for me. I have the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, pretty obvious. These three are always in the bottom three, so
Yeah, I don't think anyone else is really going to break into that bottom three for the rest of the season, but who knows? They had a really good week. They get a 7-4 win against the Arizona Coyotes. They get a 7-2 win against the Anaheim Ducks. And then they close out with a 5-0 drubbing against the Los Angeles Kings. I think that's the third 5-0 drubbing they've had in the last month, which is just crazy. Just a lovely little stat I wanted to pull out of the top of my head. But yeah, look, much better week from them. Besides that, two big wins, scoring 14 goals across the two games. Yeah, it's good signs. Yeah, you're seeing some good signs from their youngsters as well. Bedard's obviously playing extremely well as well. But it's not just Bedard. I think you're seeing a lot of the other youngsters come through, which is really positive.
alrighty. On to 29. I have the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, we could almost call it a bottom four at this point, couldn't we? I think
And
they're
look,
locked.
they win all their games, but all their games go into overtime shootout. Um, Overtime beat Penguins, shootout beat Columbus, and then OT beat the Islanders. So, hip hip hooray, 3 wins, but those are three wins in the last 10 as well. So, yeah, it's season's dusted. Horrible scenes really with the season they've had. It's a good week in regards to results. It's disappointing they've all gone the OT shootout, and that's obviously why they don't climb high. And the fact that these 3 wins are the only 3 wins that they've had in the last 10 as well.
Yeah, same here. I couldn't. Yeah, 3 wins is great in a row, but you lost 7 or 8 before that. So stay where you are. All right, 20. Stay there. All right, 28 for me. This is a massive one, and I don't care, but they go in there. Pittsburgh Penguins.
All right, the My 26.
Yeah, look, I had to. I did it, and I was like, I know it might not make sense looking at the standings, but these guys have been god awful, um, and it's really sad to see. To be honest, they lose 4-0 to the Edmonton Oilers, 2-1 to the Ottawa Senators in OT. They get a 6-3 win against the Sharks, but again, it's the Sharks, and then a 7-4 loss against the New York Rangers. So they take 3 points out of a possible 8, but Yeah, they've been god awful. I think they're 2-7-1 over their last 10. Considering they were in the playoff hunt probably 15 games ago, and now they're basically, yeah, that's it. Their season's done. It's extremely disappointing to see, especially for Crosby.
All right. My 28, I have the Montreal Canadiens.
They're my 25, actually.
Whew. So this team, they 3-0 Columbus. They go to OT and lose against Boston, and then they lose 5-2 to Calgary. So what was that? 3 out of 5. 3 out of 6 points. They've been alright, but 3-4-3 in their last 10. They've kind of been sitting below 500 for a while now, and that's kind of where they're at. And it's hard to move them. It's a good point from Boston, but honestly, that's probably more on regards to Boston's sake and how they like to go to OT all the time. So
Yeah, they almost go there on purpose, to be honest.
yeah.
But no, yeah, look, they rose 2 spots for me basically because I've had enough of Pittsburgh and who I will call out my 27, the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, my 25.
Yeah, look, I've had enough of both these teams, Pittsburgh and the Devils, and I think the thing for me and the reason why they have gone down is I expect more from these two than I do from the Canadians, and like the Canadians are basically doing what I expect from them. The Devils and the Penguins are doing much worse than I'd expect from them. It's getting quite ugly now for both of them. The Devils have a 3-1 loss against the New York Rangers. I don't think they've won a game against the Rangers this year. I'm not sure if they've been swept yet in the series, but it's been ugly. They get a 6-2 win against Dallas, which you just got some hope that maybe there was something there, and then they lose 4-1 to the Arizona Coyotes. So it's just not good enough. Just when you think there might be a glimpse of hope for this team, they slap you in the face and they get beaten by a team they shouldn't. They're 3-7-0 in their last 10, and their season is done.
Hmm.
I don't really care what
Well,
anyone
Allen
says,
looks
just like
good.
fans.
DeSimone looks good. It's just too many bad, horrible turnovers. DeSimone did one. Smith did one,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much their repertoire at the moment is just horrible turnovers. But I guess
Yep.
bright light Allen does look good in a small sample.
Yep.
27 for me, the Columbus Blue Jackets.
They stay at 24 for me.
So this team, they go and lose 3-0 to Montreal, go to shootout and lose against Ottawa. Then they 4-2 win against San Jose, only having 20 shots and San Jose having 41. So pretty poor week, all things considered. They're 4-5-1 in the last 10. And yeah, I just couldn't move. I had to move them down because of the poor week and just one of the teams below kind of having an average week that skipped them.
Yeah, look, I definitely could have moved them down as well. I think I left them just purely because, like I said about Montreal, they're doing what I expect them to do. Whereas in the teams below them, I think aren't. They're not. They're doing much worse. So I sort of ranked them based on that. And the 26, I did consider putting them above these two, but given their previous form before their last 2 weeks, I hesitated a little bit, and it's the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, my 24.
Yeah, look, I just losing 13 games in a row, it kind of it kind of scars you a little bit. And they didn't start off well either. They get a 7-4 loss against the Chicago Blackhawks. They really should be winning that game. 4-1 loss to the Minnesota Wild. But then they finished quite strong with a 4-1 win against Detroit and a 4-1 win against New Jersey. So, yeah, look, good, strong finish to the week. The 4-1 win obviously helps jump New Jersey in the rankings, but I had to hold them back a little bit because they could just as easily go on a 13-game losing streak again.
Yeah, well, this is the first team that we've mentioned that in their last 10 has been 500 or better.
Yep.
And they are 5-5 in the last 10. So that is what it is for them. 23 for me, I have moving down Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, same here.
And yeah, look, they pretty poor performance this week, not winning a game. They come up against Vegas. They lose an OT as a 4-5 game. Lose by a goal against Capitals in regulation, then they lose 4-1 to Nashville. So difficult week in regards to opponents or teams that can take it to you, but still very difficult results and hard to swallow results really for where we thought they'd be at the start of the season. And
Mhm.
I feel like, I know Nashville's on a tear, but I feel like that Vegas and Washington game, there's definitely points to be had there.
Yeah, for sure. All right, 22. I've got a bit of a controversial one because of where they sit in their standings, but I've got the Washington Capitals.
Whew. All right, I got them at 18.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I thought you might have a big jump here, but I just
A
don't
big
like the
jump,
way they're
+2.
playing.
You went down 2 and I went up 2. All
Yeah,
right, man.
yeah, exactly,
Let's explain
exactly.
this one. This has got a deep dive in this one.
A deep dive on this one. Well, look, they, I haven't been high on Washington all season. I've had
Oh, neither of
big problems with them. I don't think they're good enough. I don't know how they are where they are. But they start the week off with a 3-0 loss against the Winnipeg Jets. They lose 7-2 to the Edmonton Oilers. But then they beat the Seattle Kraken on a back-to-back, and they get a 2-1 win against the Vancouver Canucks. So like, they go 500 and they get a good win against the Canucks, but I still don't rate them, and I don't like the way they're playing. And to me, if they make the playoffs, they're out in straight. I think they'd lose 4-0.
Yeah.
Don't care who they're coming up
Well, they
against. They're
they
getting
move up for me
4-0.
because other teams moved down. So they would have been flat if it wasn't for other teams. Uh,
Hmm.
Big issue for them is none of their games they had over 30 shots.
Yep.
Granted, they kept in the 3 games they kept them under 30 shots, but obviously Edmonton, being Edmonton, had 37. That is my concern with Washington. There is just that offense
Yep.
already. On to 22, moving down quite a ton. It's Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah, they're my 19, but I
Ne-
see why you've done
Negative 10. Get out of my top 16. But they lose to Buffalo 7-3. That's a bad loss considering the playoff race. They go and lose 4-1 to Arizona. It's a bad loss because it's Arizona. And then
Yep.
they beat Buffalo 4-1. Good win because it's Buffalo in playoff race. But it's been poor for probably 3 weeks now, something like that. They're 2-8 in the last 10. I think they've got 3 points in the last 8 or 9 games or something like that. It's been horrible. Eiserman didn't do much at the deadline really to shore up this team for a playoff run. And yeah, if they miss the playoffs, there's got to be a lot of heat on him. I understand they're 5 years into a rebuild. New Jersey took 10 years to come out of theirs, and look, they only had one good season. Now look where they are. Um,
Yep.
but sometimes rebuilds take longer than 5 years. I think fans always just expect around 5-year turnarounds. But yeah, I still think he could have done better.
Yeah, look,
You
it's
can't
it's
have one player
disappointing.
getting injured and then blame it on him and Dylan
Oh,
Larkin.
exactly, exactly, and it shouldn't be that way either because they're a great team all round. Like it's not just Dylan Larkin's line that's driving this team. They were getting production, from a lot of their lines, and they they've played well as a team most of the season. So it's disappointing to see them do this, um, you know, come crunch time. But there's still plenty of season to go. They're still primed for a playoff spot if they can turn it around. I just hope they do because it's going to be real disappointing for these guys if they miss out again. All right, 21 for me. I have a team who's obviously in that playoff hunt, the New York Islanders.
All right, they're my 17.
Yeah, we differ a little bit here, but again, I just don't like the way these guys play.
Mhm.
I think if you fix the overtime structure, these guys wouldn't even be close to a playoff position right now.
Yeah,
Um,
probably the same with Boston.
yeah, wow. At least Boston has 40 wins or whatever it is, but Anaheim Ducks 6-1 they beat to start the week, and then on a back-to-back they 3-0 lose to the Los Angeles Kings. Then they 4-0 lose to the Buffalo Sabres, and they get a 4-3 overtime loss against the Ottawa Senators because it wouldn't be the Islanders without at least one game going to overtime. But yeah, look, for me, we've said it a lot this season. I just don't like the fact that they're 29-37 in terms of win to losses. They've been better lately, and they went on a bit of a run there. But I still don't rate these guys. And I think they definitely could make playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but I don't think they're good enough, and I don't think they deserve it.
Alrighty, 21 got Buffalo Sabres, and
18 from me.
this team had a decent week from memory, but they beat Detroit 7-3, Islanders as we mentioned 4-0, and then they lose to Detroit 1-4. So look, 4 out of 6 points. Honestly, easier end of teams that they've versed. But all playoff race games, and they come out over 500. So you're loving that. And look, they're playing really good hockey compared to what they were doing earlier. I think pretty much the whole NHL is really backing them to try and do it. I think
Hmm.
we all want to see it, and I want to see it. But is it is it feasible to see? We'll have to wait and see. At the moment, I still have Islanders my favorite in that race, but Buffalo's probably my close second. Alrighty. Are you still there?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Sorry, my headset just decided to cut out on me there.
Alright.
Sorry about that. But yeah, we should be all good now. I don't know what happened. Everything just went blank and it started to go a little bit crazy. But no issues. We're still good.
Yep.
On to my number 20. I have the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, my 20 as well.
Lovely. Yeah, look, I the reason I've got them above the Islanders and the Capitals is because I don't mind their game style and the way they play. I actually think it would hold up in the playoffs. They're quite physical. I just think they're regressing a little bit because we never expected them to do this, and we weren't sure whether they'd be able to hold up all season. And I think that's what's starting to happen here. But you know, 3-2 win against the San Jose Sharks, but then a 6-2 loss to the Leafs and a 6-5 loss to the Bruins. So they win the game they should, and then they lose the 2 games that you'd probably expect them to lose. So it's not a terrible week in terms of that, but in terms of the playoff hunt and trying to keep that playoff spot, it's not ideal for them.
Mm.
And I unfortunately I do think that they're going to fall out of that playoff hunt, which is going to be pretty disappointing for Philly
Yeah.
fans that have probably been expecting to
Well,
make the playoffs.
yeah, I think it's pretty much obvious it's going to happen when Carter Hart went. No surprise they're falling off. New Jersey lose the best face-off player in the league as well, so and they fall off. So it's no surprise that those players, losing those players hurt the teams. On
Yeah,
to
for sure.
19 for me, St. Louis Blues,
Yeah, they're my 17.
and yeah, this team likes to play the roller coaster game. They beat Boston 5-1. They beat LA 3-1, and then they win shootout against the Minnesota Wild 3-2. So 3 really good wins, and 6-3-1 in the last 10. Won the last 4. They're doing really good, but they were a bit iffy just before this little run that they did here, and I guess that's my big concern is they kind of like Detroit in a sense. They like to play the roller coaster game.
Yeah, too much Jekyll and Hyde with them, unfortunately. But hey, look, they're in with a chance, that's for sure. All right, the top 16. Let's get it started, and I have to start this with a team I wanted to kick out. I really did because I haven't liked the way they've played for a large chunk of this season. It's the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, they're 16 for me.
Yeah, they were very close to not being in the 16, that's for sure. They continue their wayward run. They get a 5-4 win against OT win against the Kraken. They have a 4-1 loss against the Flames, and that's their week. So, look, yep, they get 2 points and they go 500, but they've been sliding a fair bit lately. I think they're 3-6-1 in their last 10. Um, yeah, just look, they are at big risk of being kicked out of the wild card spot at the moment. I know they've got a bit of a gap and they've got games in hand, but they're only 3 points ahead of the Minnesota Wild. So, um, yeah, they've got to be careful
Mm.
because they might find themselves missing out on the playoffs and all of that cap space that they used and that 20 mil over the cap or whatever they are may all be for nothing because if they don't make the playoffs, they can't utilize it.
Alrighty.
But
15 for me, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
they're
And
14 for me.
yeah, moving up a bit. They go undefeated this week. Only play the 2 games, beating Rangers and Florida 6-3 and 5-3. So 2 hard teams, beat them both. Not really convinced with it, especially with the Florida game only having 16 shots and conceding 50. And I haven't really been a fan of the game too much for a while. I feel like they've been carried by just a few star players, but they are 6-3-1 in the last 10 and won their last 3. So they're on a good little run. But once again, a team that I feel like a little bit overperforming just because getting carried a little bit by a few players. They're lacking a little bit of depth.
Yeah, and they still don't have a playoff spot secured, but you'd expect them to probably make it.
Yeah.
All right, 15 for me. I've got the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, they're my 14.
Speaking of teams that aren't aren't in the playoff spot just yet, but I really wouldn't mind them making it. To be honest, I kind of enjoy the way these guys are playing. Bit of an underdog story. So, yeah, look, they start the week off pretty rough. 2-7 loss to Carolina Hurricanes and a 2-6 loss against the Colorado Avalanche. But it's against two of the best teams in the league, arguably. And then they finish off with a 4-1 win against Vegas and a 5-2 win against Montreal. So, they go 500. And honestly, it's probably probably the best you were expecting from that week, although it would have been nice to see them grab a point or two from either Carolina or Avalanche to help their cause. But they're in pretty good form. I think they're 6-4 in their last 10. And they're putting together some good wins. So I just hope they keep it up.
Alrighty, 13 for me, the Minnesota Wild.
Yep, they're 13 for me as well.
Yeah, moving up 4 positions. They win 3 out of 4, beating Nashville in OT, beating Arizona 4-1, Anaheim 2-0, and then they lose in shootout to St. Louis Blues. So, look, 7 out of 8 points. They're on a run. Maybe too little, too late in a sense. They are 5-3-2 in their last 10. So, look, they're catching. They're kind of equal where St. Louis and New York Islanders are on the other side, and you see where they are in regards to the race. So I'm just concerned maybe too little, too late, but we'll have to wait and see. But I'm really liking how they've been performing as of recently. It's probably what we expected them as per previous seasons.
Yeah, I think if they make it, it'd be one hell of a run, that's for sure.
Mm.
All right, let's go to number 12. I have the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, same here.
I'm not quite sure that they are a number 12 in the rankings, but yeah, look, I think it's the best of a bad bunch. There's not much else below them at the moment doing well. But yeah, look, they have an okay week. They get a 3-0 win against the Islanders. They lose 3-1 against the St. Louis Blues. They beat the Blackhawks 5-0, and then they lose 4-1 to the Stars. So they go 500, which is probably disappointing. But hey, look, at this point, they've probably got enough points that if they can be 500 or better, they'll probably make the playoffs. So it's not the end of the world, but yeah, they need to start playing better. Otherwise, they'll probably get bounced early in the playoffs.
All right, number 11, not moving for me. Boston Bruins.
Same here.
Decent week in regards to points. They go starting off 5-1 loss to St. Louis, OT win against Montreal, and then 6-5 win against Philadelphia. And yeah, I'm still not convinced with this team. Like, they're always really close games in a sense. Like, I know they get blown out by St. Louis, but generally they're always pretty close. But I feel like that's also their crux. They're always pretty close. And yeah, I was a little bit disappointed that both games in Philly and Montreal were very close, considering where they are in my power rankings.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's crazy to think that they're top of the top of the standings at the moment, considering. But look, they're going to be in the playoffs, and that's all that really matters at this point. Number 10, start off the top 10. I've got the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I would have liked to have moved them up. They didn't have a terrible week. They 3-0 the Washington Capitals. They lose 4-2 to the Nashville Predators, but it's the Predators. They've been on fire. And then they 6-0 the Anaheim Ducks. So they get the 2 wins against the teams that they should in emphatic style, and they lose to a team that's probably the best performing team in the NHL currently. Um, over the last, 10, 15 games or whatever it is. But yeah, look, so good week from them. But the rest above them just did enough to not warrant putting them up any further.
Fair enough. My number 9, moving down a bit, it's the Dallas Stars. Look, they
Yeah,
moved
that's
from
where I
5
put
to 9, average 7. Like I say, it's always 7.
every week, man.
But look, they lose to Florida 3-4, lose to New Jersey, and what would you say, like a bad Ottinger goalie game, 6-2, and then they beat LA 4-1. And yeah, that I guess the concern is that maybe Ottinger is not playing at his peak, and I feel like he let in a few howlers against in the Devils game, which kind of cost them that game. And look, they're going to make playoffs and all that, but they got to win that one because of how Devils have been playing. So that's why they moved down. All the other teams around them have had great weeks. So yeah, that's why they get punished so much.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. It's tough because the Devils obviously are a team that can do that to you, and the Devils should be better realistically. But yeah, given how the Devils have been playing, that's a real tough loss for Dallas. But yeah, moving on to number 8 for me, a team that I tried so hard to get these guys up further, just with how they've been playing. But the Nashville Predators at number 8.
And I did it. I got them to 7.
I want to know who you put below them. I'm interested, but um, yeah, I really did. I like they're playing so well, but there's just some teams above them that I couldn't drop. They had good weeks as well, but look, the Nashville Predators they're 8-2 in their last 10. They start the week with a 4-3 OT loss to the Wild, but then a 4-2 win against the Jets and a 4-1 win against the Kraken. So 5 of a possible 6 points. They've pretty much sewn up their spot in the playoffs, which is incredible to think that these guys are going to be playing in the playoffs, considering where a lot of people had them coming into the season.
Not
They had
me.
them well, no, you had them in the playoffs, and I had them just on the outskirts of the playoffs. So, great call by you. But yeah, I did see a few people who had them, almost bottom feeding teams. So yeah, they're playing absolutely phenomenal at the moment. It's great to watch.
All right, 8 for me. The Vancouver Canucks.
Oh, yeah, fair. I didn't punish them. Maybe I should have. They're 6 for me.
So look, OT loss against Colorado, but only having 21 shots. Then they go and lose by a goal in regulation, only having 22 shots. Yeah, I feel like they're just fallen off a bit from what was really making them, one of the top dogs in the league. They're not playing their game. They're 5-3-2 in the last 10, and yeah, I feel like I don't know, their offense has kind of waned a bit in a sense, and
Yep,
that's why they've just dropped a bit for me. I just think Nashville's playing way better hockey at the moment, and
yep,
all the teams that jumped them just had good weeks.
yeah. And look, for the first time in a while, they actually look vulnerable to lose that number 1 spot in the Pacific. So, yeah, it's definitely a fair call. They need to get their act together. That's for sure. Um, Number 7 for me, that team that's chasing them for that number 1 spot in the Pacific, the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, 6 for me.
Yeah, look, I honestly think if the Canucks don't pull it together, the Oilers are going to be ahead of them next week. That's for sure. Same with the Preds. But look, the Oilers again have another good week with a 4-0 win against the Penguins, a 7-2 win against the Washington Capitals, and a 3-2 OT loss against the Avs. So 5 out of 6 points. They win their 2 games emphatically, and they get a point against a team that's in red hot form in the Avs. So great week from the Edmonton Oilers, and yeah, they just continue to roll.
Yeah, they really do. I guess starting the top 5, then I have the Toronto Maple Leafs,
Yeah, same here.
and yeah, look, they only played the 2 games, so not much to gauge from there. They beat Philly 6-2, and then they go to shootout and lose in shootout against Carolina. Both teams having 40 shots. They move up purely because 2 teams moved down. Otherwise, all these teams would have been the same. And yeah, hard to gauge on 2 games, but they've been pretty consistent. 6-3-1 in the last 10. They've kind of been around that same last 10 for a few months now, really. So yeah, just earn that top 5. It's a close top 5, but they've earned it.
Yeah, for sure. They're probably just a little unlucky to be in the same division as Boston and Florida, to be honest, because to be third in your
Yeah.
division.
Well, they got a whole 16 games plus days off to work out how to beat Boston's trap.
Well, yeah.
They can't seem to do it, and that's the game plan. Really, you got to learn how to beat that
Well,
trap.
I mean, I know Florida will probably finish above Boston, but who do Toronto want to play more, Boston or Florida? Because Boston's had their number for some years now, and Florida kicked their ass
We
after
want
finally.
Florida. We want. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, do you want them again? Are you sure? But yeah, so it's going to be interesting. But you have to feel for them, man, because like that just shows you how broken this playoff system is. I think the fact that their 2 options are basically Boston or Florida. It's just ridiculous. Like 2 of the best teams in the league. Boston's questionable, but in terms of their standings, you know, and that's who they're going to play. And Toronto have also been a really solid team. So, yeah, I don't know. I just don't like the playoff structure. But I digress and we move on. Number 4, I have the New York Rangers.
Then my number 3.
Ooh, lovely, lovely. Yeah, look, they've been good. They get a 3-1 win against the Devils, 1-0 win against the Carolina Hurricanes, but then they 6-3 lose against Tampa Bay Lightning and a 7-4 win against the Pens. So 6 out of 8 points. The loss against Tampa is it's quite disappointing. Good win against the Canes in a tight affair, and then they beat the Pens and the Devils, which I mean anyone could beat those guys at this point. Which is really weird to say. But yeah, look, they're definitely flying at the moment, the Rangers, and probably going to be a tough opponent come playoffs.
Yeah, another team with another 6-3-1 in the last 10 seems to be the trend.
Yeah,
Number 4, Colorado Avalanche.
yeah, they're my number 3.
Yeah, I had them switched around, but I made the switcheroo. They won all games this week, beating Calgary 6-2, back to back, beating Vancouver in OT 4-3, and then they beat Edmonton in OT 3-2. So the reason I was a little bit restrained, even though they beat 2 big opponents, was that both of those games were in OT, and I don't really rate OT or shootout wins, just because it's 3-on-3, and I would rate it if it was 4-4, but because it's 3-on-3, I can't rate it. And yeah, I feel like OT should be moved to 4-4 for 2 5-minute periods. But
And the Avs
that's
are built for 3-on-3 as well with
yeah,
McKinnon, Ransman, McCarr. Like it's deadly.
yeah. So yeah, it is what it is. But that's why they move up, but just not as they didn't get that jump on Rangers just for that.
Yeah. All right, number 2, and the question on if we have a new, or I have a new number 1 this week is yes, yes, I do. I have the Florida Panthers at number 2.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, both of us with new number 1s, and it's obviously the same number 1. But we'll jump into the Florida's week. Yeah, look, it's nothing terrible. They win 4-3 against the Dallas Stars. They lose 4-0 against the Carolina Hurricanes. So surprise, surprise, that's obviously the team that's overtaken them. and they lose 5-3 to Tampa Bay Lightning. So they lose 2 games, but albeit 3 pretty solid teams to come up against in the week. But given that little slip and considering the Carolina Hurricanes beat them 4-0, it was kind of inevitable that they'd slip out of that number 1 spot.
Yeah. Oh, I punished them just for losing the game where you have 50 shots, concede 16, and you lose. The
Yeah, I forgot. I actually forgot that. Hey, I don't know.
So
Tampa.
no matter what, they
That's
were
like the,
probably going down purely because of that.
that's like the 10th time Tampa's done that this season, though. Like I don't know what it is, but Tampa has the
Well,
ability
they
to
got
score
snipers
points.
on the team. That's the thing. They got Kucherov,
Yeah,
Stamkos, all that. Like they got shooters.
yeah,
Elite shooters. That's why. But then you got Carolina Hurricanes. They only had 21 shots against them. Didn't put up a goal. So yeah, they moved down. I contemplated going down to as low as 3, but I just couldn't do it because I still really love their game plan and
yeah,
their gameplay. So at 2 for me. Starting off at number 1 this week, though, in regards to power rankings, Carolina Hurricanes, obviously.
yeah,
And yeah, they've been on a run for a few months now after a middle season in the standings. And look,
yep,
7-2 Calgary doubled their shots, lose to Rangers by a goal in regulation, 4-0 to Florida, and then 40 shots each, win against Toronto in shootout. So very difficult week in regards to schedule. Came out pretty damn good. 3 wins, albeit one of them in shootout. And one loss is against the number 3 in my power rankings, number 4 in yours, and it was only by 1 goal in regulation. So they play really good hockey. They get in a lot of shots. They're really hard to beat. Loving the one-touch passing, one-touch and sniping. And honestly, if they keep that up into the playoffs, them in Florida are probably, I would say, go all the way, but because the way it works, that it's not going to work like that. The
yeah.
Best
They'll meet
best
each other
best
in the
best
final.
case they meet in the conference final.
Yeah, but yeah, you're not wrong. I honestly think they're built for another run. I was a little bit worried at the start of the year and it didn't make much sense either. They improved their defense with all of but they seem to regress in the defensive aspect of things. But they've rectified that now, and they've got that all back and rolling. Their offense is doing really well, and Kuznetsov, that pickup is just
Mm.
that's a huge pickup
And they
for them,
got
especially
the best
offense.
the best goaltender back. I'm forgetting his name right now. Is it Anderson?
Anderson, yeah,
Anderson, yeah,
and Anderson's
yeah.
back as
So
well. So
so yeah.
the planets are aligning for Carolina at this point, and this is a team that I wouldn't mind seeing win the cup. I was a little disappointed they didn't go all the way last year and got pimped by Florida, even though I didn't mind seeing that sort of run. But yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if they do it this season.
Nah, well, generally teams that do end up winning the cup are like in the playoffs for a few years, heartbreak, and then it just happens that one year. And I feel like this is probably their year.
Mm.
They kind of earned it. Them and maybe the Rangers, they kind of seem to be in that boat. I guess you could throw Toronto in there because of all the round 1 exits, but
You have to at least make a conference final before you get thrown in there, all right?
you'd think so, but we'll have to wait
Yeah,
and see.
yeah.
Anyway, let us know what you think of our power rankings. Leave a comment below what your power rankings are. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave all notifications on. And yeah, till next time, we'll catch you guys.
See you later, guys.